Okay, as usual, we'll give it another couple of minutes to allow people to trickle in. But Sam, you're going to lead the conversation as you know Neil the best. Um, so you can
Absolutely.
take the reins there.
Yep. Now I've been working with Neil for over a year now. Is that correct?
Literally almost, oh yeah, it just hit over the year,
Just hit over
June
a year.
1st.
Every single day of it has been an absolute pleasure from my end. I don't want to speak for you on that one, but I've
Likewise.
enjoyed every second of it. So yeah, seeing some familiar faces here and some newer faces too. I'm sure you potentially recognize some of them who have come through. But for anyone who doesn't know you yet, give us a little introduction. Who are you? What do you do? And how long have you been with KMAC?
Absolutely. So my name's Neil Thakkar. I'm from Chicago. I've been with KMAC for 1 year. Uh, own a real estate investing company and a construction company. So extremely busy, but always loved the gym growing up, always loved sports, playing basketball, football, any sport, even beach volleyball in the summer days, go by the beach on North Avenue Beach and play volleyball. Um, enjoyed, socializing, meeting new people, hanging out, growing my business, and then just taking care of my body. Um, During COVID, I think that slipped away a little bit, and that's what made me find you guys, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Sure. So to build on from that, that's leads me quite nicely on actually. Um, what do you feel actually led to you starting that kind of transformation journey? I know in the past you've mentioned to me personally, and when we sat down and did a podcast around kind of having a very, very strong why, pressure medication kind of helping along the way as well. So yeah, talk us through what actually gave you that little shove to get started.
Absolutely. So the last two times I went in for like a normal routine checkup with my doctor, he noticed my blood pressure, rising, and he's like, Neil, it's not at a good point. It's like pretty high. We should put you probably on blood pressure medicine. And mind you, the time apart between seeing that doctor was probably maybe 8 months, could be a year. I don't have the exact dates, but he wanted to put me on blood pressure medicine. And I go, hey, doc, let me focus on myself. I'll work it out. And one of the reasons, actually, I'll get onto that next, but the blood pressure medicine, I'm like, listen, I don't want to take that. And before my photo shoot, I went back
Watch it
and
on
saw
your
him.
on your Chromebooks.
Before I went back and before my photo shoot, I went and got my blood work done because I wanted to see what my new levels were. And the nurse didn't even have a clue. Like she looked at the chart, she like 170 pounds, and then she put in the new one. It was like 130. And she's like, "Can you step back on the scale?" And she's like, "Wow, you lost a lot of weight." And the doctor comes in and is like, "Dude, I barely recognize you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't, just to be honest with you, doctor, I didn't take a one pill of that blood pressure medicine that you prescribed." And I actually saved that bottle, and it was like a reminder to myself of why I joined and what I wanted to do to my body. But even backtracking before that, I turned 40 this year in a couple months, and my dad passed away at 45 and my mom passed away at 52. And they went through their own health challenges and health struggles. And I'm like, you know what? I have the opportunity to take control of what I can, right? Genetics is genetics, but leaving that aside, whatever I can control, let me control. So when I talked to the doctor that day, he's like, Neil, to be honest with you, he's like, we know we get a lot of people who come in and say, hey, they're going to go home and work on their health and work on this and work on eating right and lower their sugar intake, lower their sodium intake. But we don't know if they're going to really truly go and do that. So we have to take the precautionary measures and give you the medicine. And when he checked my blood pressure there, it was 100% normal. So I was able to reverse that. We did labs that day. He's, my cholesterol was a little high too, and it had been reversed because of obviously losing the weight, eating right, knowing what I'm putting into my body. And, I look back at it and I'm like, I wish I had this knowledge, you know, when my parents were not doing good and health wise, I'm like, if had I had that knowledge, maybe things could have been different. Would it have 100% been different? Who knows? But to be able to have the knowledge that we do have, with KMAC and the coaches there, that everyone knows, like, has different things that they can give you information on. So when I saw like my new labs and I compared them to the previous 2 years, it was literally a night and day difference.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I always think when I hear that story, it's yeah, incredibly powerful for sure. And I think a lot of people here will be inspired to hear that, to be honest. You kind of alluded to it there, right? The doctors are even unsure if people are going to go away and kind of actually change their lifestyle, actually do what they say they're going to do when they're kind of presented with that information. And it can be quite scary to hear that, right? Um, was it scary for you? Did you think it was exciting to commit to a change? What was kind of like your internal, I guess, thoughts and your like self-talk at that point in time?
I love going to the gym, right? I used to play basketball 2 to 3 times a week. I'd lift weights, but I didn't have a roadmap to be where I wanted to be, right? Before it was like, hey, you go play basketball for 2, 3 hours with your boys and you hit the gym, hit the weights. And um, you did that, but that gave you the excuse to go eat what you wanted. And I didn't know how that was harming my body. And as I got closer to 40, I'm like, I looked back and I'm like, man, 40, my dad had a stroke at 42. And I'm like, and they worked, they came from India, they worked 2, 3 jobs, ended up saving money, started a business and doing these things. But I was 17 when he passed. And I'm like, what, I have the opportunity here to take control of my health as much as I can. Why not take that and run with it? And it's like, I'm the only one who's stopping myself, right? Um, the tools can be there, the gym can be there, the gym's open. The food, what you put, you just have to have the discipline to do what's right.
No, for sure. For sure. Yeah, like I say, I think a lot of people will tell themselves they're going to do something and then not actually follow through on that.
Right.
And going over a long-term kind of journey of consistently making promises to yourself and then consistently keeping those can kind of completely transform the way you actually see yourself, right?
Right.
Come the end of a transformation. So how would you say that has shifted? Would you say there's almost like a before Neil and like a now Neil, or how do you kind of see that?
100%. I think the contrast is different, right? You're watching what you're putting into your body. I always loved the gym, so that didn't change. It was more so the nutritional intake and what you're eating, and how you wake up, whether you're sluggish or whether you're feeling lethargic, whether you're feeling, you know, you might have a boost of energy, but you might crash because of eating sweets, you know? So, and my mom was full blown diabetic, right? She took a shot in the morning, a shot in the evening, but her blood pressure was almost unstable. And I didn't want to go down that route, you know? Um, but it's like, how can I connect the puzzle? And then heard about KMAC through, friends that joined. My sister's the one who told me about it. Her best friend had done it. And then I knew some other friends that had joined. And I'm like, these are people I know, right? You could see stuff on the internet all day before and after, and probably more so now with the AI technology. It's probably absolutely crazy. But it's like, who do you trust? You know? And it's like, if your own people that she's like a sister to me, right? My sister's best friend. She's like, oh, if she did it, and if her sister did it, and if her husband did it, and all these other people that I know that have done it, you know, what separates them from me? We both put on our pants one leg at a time, you know?
I
Yeah.
want I wanted to jump in here. This is really interesting what Neil is saying. I love how you mentioned, and also Sam obviously mentioned, how it's easy. We all know what we should do, right? Eat healthy, move more, etc. It's a lot of information out there. However, we don't do it. What I want to know from you to tell us is, what was that switch that actually made you do what you knew you had to do? And you mentioned also discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
So was this wish to change your health really fueling that adherence, or was there some other trick you can share with us?
I think it was almost, well, several things, right? One was A, I was nearing close to 40. B, I was tired of the way I looked. And I wanted to have more energy, right? And more importantly, it was just like, it was always in the back of my mind, like, man, like when I lost my parents, it's just like it irked me. It's like I'm getting close to that age. Like the closer I get to that age and the less I do things about it, it was just a wake up call. And it might not be that person, like you might not have no health challenges or anything, but to me, it was like, all right, commit and let's get with it. If you have a role, if like to me, what was more important was the roadmap, right? If you give me the game plan, I can follow it. But if I don't have it, I'm gonna just be in circles, right? I could lose 5, 7 pounds and then put it right back on. That's and that was like a vicious circle I was constantly doing.
Right.
There
So
you get in that moment of, all right, 3 weeks I'm gonna go hard because I have a wedding, or because we have a party coming up, or I might be traveling. But then you go back to your routine self, and it's just like at the end of the day, you're back to where you started.
So basically, roadmap and seeing that you can achieve what you want gave you the hope to go there.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, so that's quite deep, and this is what we actually want with all of the clients, to see they can do it, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody can.
And it's not going to happen overnight. I tell, a lot of people are looking at, like, they live in this microwave society, and that's just what the world has, taught us. Like, if you're not fit by 2 days or a week, you put in maybe a month. It's like, give it longer than that, because it takes time, right? Everyone's body is different, but if you stick with it, the numbers don't lie. To me, it was always like, one of my business mentors said this early on. And he goes, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So, and that goes with everything, right? The amount of workouts you put in, like, if you want to get stronger, make sure you write down, hey, if you lifted 30 pounds last week, try for 32.5, try 35, so you get stronger. But then it's also the nutrition, right? If you don't measure it, you're not sure how much you're putting into your body.
No, exactly that. Exactly that. You mentioned as well just then around kind of road mapping and having travel crop up. Of course, running your business as well, things along those lines, right?
Yep.
And approximately sort of halfway through, I would say, your overall fat loss, we dropped around about 10 to 15 pounds. And then you headed away on a few trips to Europe.
Yep.
And then we came back and we locked in and we went ahead and got the shoot done, right?
Yep. Yep.
But we roadmapped that out. And during that trip to Italy, you had Tomorrowland in there, all of those different things. That can come across as quite overwhelming, right? What would be your kind of biggest pieces of advice for staying on track whilst having those kind of enjoyments whilst away and things along those lines?
I think it's the biggest thing that helped me is honestly the communication with you, right, coach? The like, tell your coach you're doing XYZ. Don't be afraid to tell your coach, hey, this weekend, I just told you a couple hours ago, I got a bachelor party this weekend. And they'll map out, hey, if your workouts are going to change, send me what hotel you're staying in and we'll adjust your gym routine, right? Or take certain things with you, right? When I went to Europe, I took the resistant bands with me and we trained like that. But I think communicating with your coach, and this also goes into like the injuries that I had. Like, if you tell your coach, hey, this is what I'm working with, I might have 3 days of, you're going to be gone for a week, let's say. I was gone for almost 2.5 weeks. I went to Italy, Amsterdam, and Belgium for Tomorrowland. And during those times, I still fit in my workout schedule, whether I had to wake up before everyone else, obviously walking wasn't the issue. I walked about 40,000 steps at Tomorrowland. And anytime you're traveling, you're usually going to walk a lot more. But I think that communication with your coach is key.
100%, 100%. And that communication ultimately meant that we could just maintain during that period, right?
Yep,
Maintenance isn't always a kind of step back or like a period that's not progressive. You're still kind of building habits, right? And learning
exactly.
and gaining experience for those travels so that now, as you've just alluded to, you've said you've got a bachelor coming up, you've got a few weddings coming up in Canada and
Yep,
things like that. You've got experience there, right? So
right.
you're not starting afresh going into those. You can apply what you've already learned, what you've already been through, to make sure that again we can just kind of maintain through that period,
And that
right?
was the biggest thing for me that gave me the confidence. Like, all right, he doesn't expect me to lose a pound or whatever. As long as we can stay within that 1 pound range or 1.5 pound range, you're going to be fine. And then when you get back, we'll get back at it.
100%.
And it felt me, to me, it was like a weight off my shoulders because that was my first big travel after joining KMAC and just going through. I'm like, oh man, he made it very simple. The workouts, changed on my, I just log on to the True Coach app with you and like, oh, he already adjusted my workouts. Like, I know that I can do these with the stuff that I have available. And, but, it was very easy.
Um, so I've two things. One, I'm going to share the draw and give away our Whoop band. But I'd also love to know just on like, I think this is one of the most under-talked thing about is like this ability to be like vulnerable with your coach and just be honest about the situations that is popping up. And like that always takes you like it's about you taking that first step to actually see how Sam responds. How Sam responds when you like things aren't going super well, to actually allow you to feel the fact that it's okay. Could you think off the top of your mind about the first couple of times where you were sharing with Sam that like you think you were struggling with certain things?
Oh, in the beginning, I didn't know how it was going to be, right? You're like, oh, is it going to be like boot camp style, or they're going to be like, no, you can't do that, or you can't do this. I'm like, you know what? This is the time to be completely honest, and it's that safe space with your coach, right? Whether you have struggles or whether you have challenges, or sometimes you might go to your coach and be like, hey, you know what? I went on quite the bender this weekend. How can we get back to normal? And
Cool.
that might happen. They're not telling you that, like the biggest thing for me was like, this isn't a sprint. I don't even call it a marathon. It is the lifestyle choice, right? Like after, whether you're in the program for 4 months, a year, 2 years, whatever you may be, like you want to be able to sustain what you learned and be able to go and live your life.
And after how long did you find like these habits were like fully innate, just like second nature? How long do you think it took you for that to be the case?
I like going to the gym,
Okay.
but as far as like some of the workouts,
Or even just on the nutrition side, like how long did that take?
I'd say that definitely took a couple weeks to dial in because of at that same time I was, I went back like I went on a vegan cleanse for a month after I broke my toe and um and then I've been full blown vegetarian, right? Since then. So it's like it was definitely a little bit of adjusting because whether it's vegan, well, especially vegan, a lot of vegan foods are very high in fat. And then vegetarians, you just got to make sure you're getting enough protein, which is
It,
much easier now than 20, 30 years ago.
yeah, that's very fair. We're certainly spoiled for choice when it comes to veggie protein at the moment, which is great. Um, Cool. So I'd love for yourself and Sam, just to chat about like navigating across like some of the injuries that popped up in the process. But guys, just if you do want to share this on your story and be in with a chance of winning the Whoop, all you got to do is tag KMAC Fitness, tag your coach, tag either myself or Sam or both if you would like. And then maybe you give Neil a little shout out there as well. And then you'll be entered into the draw for the Whoop next week.
Absolutely. No, I look forward to seeing everyone sharing this around for sure. So I think in terms of injuries, the first one that crops up is the one that you're currently dealing with, I would say. A lot of them have been kind of sustained through basketball, right? You spoke about your love for basketball, things like that. That most recent one, I believe you were, am I right in thinking you were trying to catch a ball that was being passed to you and you got a
No,
little sprain through your
I got
finger?
elbowed actually. I was playing I was playing basketball. I caught an elbow. I've never had this part. It's like literally right here. I've never had like the MCP sprain. So I did an X-ray. And that was it's been painful. But it's slowly on the mend. I don't know how long it'll take, but one thing I've realized is sometimes you become a bit more stronger when you're not playing basketball twice a week.
But you enjoy it, right? So that's the
I
main.
love it. It's always been my escape.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's always a good time. Made a lot of friends through basketball.
No, for sure. Yeah, I'm a big kind of team sports guy as well. I'm sure you know football in the UK is a little bit bigger.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
the
but
best build for a basketball player either. So yeah, I struggle a bit more there. But yeah, you mentioned it earlier, right? Communication around injuries is key. If
yep,
you didn't tell me that you had this injury, I wouldn't
yep,
be able to go ahead and suggest changes. I wouldn't be able to go ahead and suggest exercise switches, things along those lines, right?
yep,
And I think oftentimes people will go, "Oh, I'm injured. I can't train anymore," right? But
yeah,
rather than what can't you do, what can you do, right?
exactly.
For the most part, we've actually kept near enough every exercise the same. We've just
Right,
adjusted the setup a little bit to
exactly.
introduce cuffs and things along those lines so that you're not
Yep,
holding on to a handle and things like that, right?
right.
Um, and that's where the communication comes in so key. You had your toe, which you mentioned right at the start, right?
Yep,
There was a hip injury where we couldn't quite go as deep on a hack squat for a little while and things like that,
right.
right? Um, just from actually being in the gym yourself and kind of taking on board the feedback that I was able to provide. I'd actually be interested to hear this myself as well, because it
Mhm.
will only help me get better as a coach. How did you find that practical side of things?
To me, it's almost like you have and I don't want to say a doctor, but someone who understands working out and understands that injuries will happen, right? But being able to modify things was one of the biggest things for me. Like even today, I saved I'm used to doing dumbbell RDLs, and we've already talked about, it's hard to hold on to 80-pound dumbbells on each arm. Um, you know, I weigh 137 today or 138 today, but so already holding 160 pounds was hard, but I saved the Smith machine RDL today at the very end because I'm like, you know what? Let me do what I know my body's good with, and then I'll tackle the hand one at the very end just because of my MCP sprain. And sure enough, I started with lower weights today just because I'd never done the Smith one, but it was it was totally a lot more pressure off my leg or my hand. Um, in the beginning now, when I broke my toe, I was kind of getting a little frustrated with myself because you know, when I did the intake call, um, with KMAC, I had broken my toe at a wedding I was at. We were playing beach volleyball, went to recover the ball, ran. I didn't see a bush. It was a very small bush. The roots were buried in the sand, and literally I broke my pinky toe. So, and then I was like, all right, I did the intake call. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sign up. I don't want to wait. And that's when I did the initial call with you, coach, and went over what we needed to. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do these workouts. And then legs gave me the biggest trouble because my balance wasn't as strong. And it just took some time to build up, but sure enough, got my balance back. And it's just, we definitely adjusted and tweaked some things because I remember there was the Smith machine squat was giving me a little bit of a trouble at one point. Um, so we just made some adjustments, but the body groups that we were working out was usually the same.
100%. Yeah, no,
And then I remember one more thing I'll add to that
go for
was
it.
that shoulder injury, and you added in those shoulder stretches aside from my normal routine. It was just normal, just stretches with the resistant band and the cable cross. So, there's things that you can pick up almost like PT, OT, occupational therapy and physical therapy that they can give you that can help, recover that shoulder even quicker.
Exactly. Exactly. I'll always say there's no exercise you have to do, right? It's with an injury, it's finding where is your current tolerance at? How can we
Yep.
work within that tolerance? And over time, steadily increase it. And then from there, it should open the door to those exercises that maybe we couldn't have done in the past.
Correct.
And that's ultimately always the goal with the injury side of things, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, like it's a matter of like going through this process of like calm shit down, build shit back up. Is essentially
Yeah.
the model when it comes to any injuries that you're working on. You're going to need to do a degree of like devoluming of that area, and try and focus on not like becoming fearful of particular exercises. Just because an exercise is causing you pain doesn't mean that it's causing anything to get injured. Pain is a sensory mechanism. It's there to protect you. It's not necessarily a proxy for something being wrong inside that tissue. And like the big thing that happens when people get injured is just get such a blow to your confidence.
Yep.
And then that affects your subsequent training thereafter. Is that something that you did face yourself?
To me, it was like sometimes I miss the gym, right? I might not have a workout scheduled. Like I'm already thinking about it this week. Like I knew I have a bachelor party coming up. Luckily it's local, but it's like if I don't see the gym within like 2 days, I feel like something's missing in my life. Um, but the momentum, going back to momentum, D, what you mentioned is that, some people had asked me like, are you going to wait to join KMAC till you're fully your toes recovered? So that way you could be the best, and like recovered and then work. I'm like, no, I'm one of those guys. Like we're going to get through it. Granted my first 2 months might move slower, but if I'm ready to commit now, let's get to work. And that's exactly what I told Coach Sam. I'm like, we'll work through it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with like business training and the way I was brought up, right? I mean, I still remember my parents had a donut shop in Kentucky. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. And when me and my sister, when we were like just tall enough to like be able to see over the table, we'd help, fill the delivery boxes with donuts, right? Then we got a little bit older, put jelly in the donuts and like line them up so they could take them out to the front to sell or put them in the delivery box. As we got a little older, we were able to go in the front and be able to wait on the patrons, wait on the customers that were there. And this is like the old school donut shop where people would sit around and we would refill their coffee. Hey, you need another donut? Do you want another sandwich? And then as we got a little bit older, we learned the cash register, right? And this was just routine for us. Me and my mom would take us and before she dropped us off to school, she'd go check up on the employees. And she'd take me and my sister there, and then she'd check up on the employees, like, all right, let's drop you off to school. After school, she'd pick us up, and we'd go to the donut shop, have a snack there, help out in whichever capacity we could, and then we'd do our homework sometimes at the donut shop, and then we'd go home, play with our friends, get ready for the night, and I learned that discipline early on and then learned it through business. And then that carried on through, working out. It was the nutrition side that probably bothered me the most that I couldn't understand.
Since having your nutrition and training in a better spot, have you noticed that like direct carryover into like your stress tolerance, your productivity, just overall like focus and energy levels?
100%. Like a lot less brain fog, a lot less like energy in the morning. Like my body, no matter what, wakes me up early in the morning. It's like, all right, let's get moving, let's get to work. It's become a routine now.
That's always the big thing for me when I'm coaching. So it's like the physique stuff, it's great, it's cool. Like,
Yep.
but the excitement of it dies down. Like once you achieve the physique stuff, it's just like, yeah, that was great. I'm proud of myself. But at some stage, you kind of habituate it to it. It just becomes your new normal. Like it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Like it doesn't matter how great you look. It's just you get used to being at where you're at. And so it's really
Right.
important that we're focusing on all of the things that health, fitness, structure, routine add to all of them other areas of our lives.
Yeah. I love seeing the videos from other KMAC members where their kids are in the background, also grabbing a little baby weight and joining them. It's amazing to see that, right? You're changing generations. You're instilling it early on, like, oh, this is just the norm.
No, for sure. I'm interested. Dee said you get used to the great physique. Are you used to being jacked yet?
It's so funny. I used to wake up, and I think some people probably do is like, man, is my abs here yet? Or like, like did I making sure I didn't lose it? Or but it's so funny. It's so weird.
No, for sure. Of course, we drove towards abs and getting in shape because a goal of yours was to do a photo shoot, right?
Mhm.
And there's going to be a lot of people coming up to their photo shoots in New Jersey in around about 5 weeks, 6 weeks, I believe it is now. Yeah, 5 weeks, who are maybe a little bit nervous for it. Things along those lines. So the week of the photo shoot, especially,
Mhm.
what did it feel like physically, kind of mentally for you? Were you excited for it? Were you nervous? How did that feel?
I was excited yet nervous, right? Because I'm one of those believers, like, and this is probably the business side of me, like you never have arrived, right? Like I'm like, oh, I could do so much better. Should I have waited for another photo shoot or it's just a lot of nervousness kicking in, right? And I'm like, and it's just a challenge within myself, right? Like, could this look better? Could this, could I be working out a little bit harder on this before my photo shoot? And then I think the confidence from the team honestly helped a lot. Was like, no, you're definitely ready for the photo shoot. I still remember you asking me if I wanted to do it back in October. And I just met that one goal. I'm like, all right, I think we should lose an extra 10 more pounds, I think it was at that time. And like, would you like to do a photo shoot? And then whenever I committed, and I'm one of those people, just like having that roadmap, the game plan, if you put that in front of me, it's like, all right, now we have a deadline to hit and there is a date. So let's even take it up another notch and go as hard as we can. So that way, in 5 weeks, you don't look back and say, could I have done this? Or why'd I skip that? Or why'd I eat this?
For sure.
So, and I'm like, I think it's always like, let's dial it in and let's get to work.
I would say actually on your body weight graph, there's a very definitive point where the switch just went boom, and it was
Yep.
right, we've locked it in, body weight starts dropping again.
Yep.
Literally as of that check-in where we locked in the photo shoot. So yeah, it's funny that you say that actually. Building up to your photo shoot, you had a really, really cool moment with someone who you've kind of looked up to as well, as another coach, Tim Grover.
Yep.
So yeah, talk to us about that story.
So I work out downtown, and for those of you who don't know Tim Grover is the one who trained Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, a lot of athletes, and he's also a business coach. Really, really great guy. So it's so funny. I was just finished my workout at the gym, and I look at the corner of my eye, and I'm like, there's this fit older guy, probably the fittest older guy in that gym. And I'm like, man, and I go up to him and I'm like, oh shit, that's Tim Grover. And he's my favorite author. If you haven't read the book Relentless, one of my favorite books. Winning is also a great book. And I've read those books probably several dozen times, but he talks about the mindset and all that. And this literally, I'm like, you know what? This is God's way of telling me I'm on the right path because I literally ran into him a week before my photo shoot. And I went up to him, had a conversation, let him know he's one of my favorite authors. We took a picture together. And I see him in the gym time to time, and we'll just, he's like, keep up the good work. And he's like, one of the things he mentioned, he's like, you don't look nowhere near 40. And he was blown away by that. And he's just such a good person. It was just letting me know the universe aligns when you put yourself and manifest certain things in your life. It's just like, man, the week of my photo shoot and I run into this guy.
Yeah. It's funny the way that works, right?
It is. Absolutely.
You mentioned a minute ago as well, you were kind of toying with in your head, am I ready for this? Am I ready for this? Things along, could I push that a little bit further? What went through your mind the first time that you actually saw the photos when they were being taken, when Shiv's had her camera there, and she
Oh,
showed you them, but then also after the fact as well?
I was thoroughly impressed. I'm like, either she's a really good photographer and she's doing some crazy edits, or I'm like, man. Um, and then I was just blown away, honestly. Like it's it's different when you're there and like I'm like, hey, do I need to get to the gym early enough to get pumped up and whatnot? And the team, like literally within 15 minutes, like, no, you're ready. You're good to go. Like you put in all the work already. And just having the team there supporting you and just like it was honestly it felt unreal, to be honest. That hour and a half, whatever it was just the whole moment just felt unreal.
No, I'm glad to hear that, man. I'm glad to hear that, and you absolutely smashed every single second of it. Um,
Appreciate that.
So obviously post shoot, the goal kind of shifts. There's a little bit less of kind of a deadline on things there. With that said, so how have you found that little bit of a shift post shoot into let's maintain? I know you sent me some messages saying you wanted to build muscle, you wanted to maintain your abs for as long as possible, all these different things. Where are you currently at with that as well?
So obviously there's a little bit of a decompress, right? After the photo shoot because you've worked so hard to get there. And then just finding out what that next goal looks like. I'm one of those, and I messaged you a couple of times. I'm like, what does it look like to like what will it look like? So that way I have an idea and I'm not like, hey, you're gonna probably lose your abs for a little bit, then you'll get them back. And I'm totally okay with that. But as long as you have that same thing, communication with the coach and understanding like, hey, this is what's going to happen for us to get you to that next point that you want to get to, right? Because some people might say, hey, I'm very happy where I'm at, and now I just want to maintain.
Mhm.
And totally understandable, but it's a personal decision for everybody. Um, since I did go so hard, I will say after the photo shoot, it was a little bit harder for me because when you put yourself in like overdrive, in my eyes, it's like, all right, it's easy to when you're in the fat loss journey, you're like, all right, it's measurable and everything's going. But on the muscle building stage, like phase, it's a little bit slower and it respectively so because you're working on getting stronger, building more muscle, and you're also trying to balance nutrition at the same time. And I've had a few times where like once I think we had to set back my macros, but for the most part, I think I'm trending in the same direction. I'm getting stronger with all majority of my workouts actually. So
I think I don't know how exactly to say it, but like the individuals who can go through that full extended muscle building phase, like embrace the fact that like your abs are going to disappear. You don't see that quick return on investment. Like in a deficit, you see changes week upon week. If you adhere to things, you just get to see yourself get leaner. As opposed to in the muscle building phase, you have these less like objective markers of progress. It's more so just like the trust and belief that these are the things I need to do to get myself this time next year to where I want to be. Have you found it difficult to shift that mindset towards being in the muscle building phase?
no, I think it's become a little bit easier. In the beginning, it was harder, I will say, because those last several like 4 or 5 weeks is like you see some of those major shifts, right? So the muscle building phase, I was talking to Coach Byrne earlier, like, because he's dialed it in, and he's, went through the muscle building phase, and talked to Sam and talked to Kunal. And like, some people will spend almost a year, some people will spend 8 months, some people will spend 2 years to get to that exact muscle building phase that they want to. So to me, it's like going back to realizing that, there was no sprint, there was no marathon. This is going to be, if you enjoy going to the gym and if it's become part of your life, there you'll see the results still will show up, right? Whether you increase your plates by 2.5 pounds, the next week it might be 5 pounds, right? And those incremental shifts, and you'll start seeing it over time in your body as well.
Neil, question for you as well. I mean, going through the whole journey, through the process, having achieved a phenomenal transformation, not just photo shoot wise, but also lifestyle as well. I mean, what do you feel would be the biggest learning points from that entire process? Any sort of reflections, anything that you would say to yourself before you started? Looking back at it, I mean, what have been the biggest lessons, I guess you could say?
I think the biggest thing is it still comes down to a lot of what you eat too, right? Because that's going to get transfer into energy in the gym, sleep, and having that to be able to take with you throughout your entire day, right? I used to love working out in the evenings, and through this journey, I hate working out in the evenings unless it's basketball. Like, I love getting my workout done in the mornings and being able to focus on my business and focus on any other things I want to spend time, with my dog, with my girlfriend, with family, friends, and whatnot towards the evening.
It's amazing.
You might have a busy day at work, and then you might be sluggish in the gym.
Have you ever felt guilty about putting yourself first with everything all going on?
No. And the reason I say that is, like, I always tell people this, like, schedule a meeting with yourself, right? A lot of people talk about time management, and, some people will have a totally different lifestyle than me, and they might have 2 kids at home. They might have parents they're taking care of, or they just might be so busy at work or so involved with a social life or travel or whatever it may be. I'm one of those people, like, schedule the meeting with yourself. And if it has to change, it changes, right? Meetings change sometimes, right? We might have had a call at 9, now it's happening at 11. But if you put it in your calendar, majority of the times those schedules don't shift. So, and that could be with anything. It could be with the gym. It could be, hey, I need a mental break, or I just want to block off this time so people don't interrupt me, right? Sometimes people are trying to fit in times in the little empty times they have, right? If you have a newborn, and I don't have no kids, so it's hard for me to say, but try to schedule your workouts around, the time that they do go down for a nap.
100%. So on that front, then this builds into my next question, which is a little bit trivial. However, I mean, what are your personal non-negotiables now that you've gone through this process?
Non-negotiables for me?
Yeah. What are your personal non-negotiables? I mean, what are the things that on a daily basis you feel you have to do for you? Other than the gym, of course. Other than the gym.
I like planning out my day on how it's going to go, because I'm more of those, like, it's easier for me to follow things because it's easier to get off track, right? Spend time with family. That's absolutely a must. I do a little bit of meditating in the morning. There's certain things that are just non-negotiables, like in your relationship with yourself, in relationship with others, and your relationship with God.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think you had to practice some boundaries to get those non-negotiables going?
100%. I mean, going through the journey, sometimes, what's the right word? The influences are always there, right? Hey, why aren't you drinking with us? Or why aren't you doing this, right? I can still be a good time. I don't have to go on a bender with you. And I learned that through this process, right? Because majority of the social activities is always based around drinking. I was talking to my sister, my brother-in-law, friends, like every activity, especially here in the States and whatnot, it's like we need to change that look. Like it's okay if such and such isn't drinking. And they're like, "Oh, you're too good for us." I'm like, "No, it's just something that I'm willing to learn. Like I've learned about myself is like it's okay to say no.
Mhm.
And if they're not respectful of it, they're not the right friend."
I love that. I love that. We've got a very, very similar culture in the UK as well.
Yep.
Not just in the UK, D is in Ireland as well. I'm sure you can vouch for that. Did you find it almost difficult the first time that you said no to someone?
100%, because it was always like, "Hey, let's get a round of shots," or "Let's get this, let's get that." And if you're so used to doing it, it's like, and then the moment you say no, I got to watch out what I'm doing, because you don't want to set yourself back, right? One weekend could set you back 2 weeks, and then it's just finding that balance. It doesn't have to be no. It's like, "Hey, I'm going to have 2 drinks today, and that's it," or whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Once again, it's not like the coach is telling you to cut it off. They're telling you to be mindful of what you're putting in it.
Yeah. One of the big things that I always tell you as well is make decisions that are going to enhance your experience, not
Yep.
decisions that are going to overdo your experience, right?
Yeah.
What's actually going to allow you to make the most out of this bachelor party that you've got coming up soon and enjoy your time and allow your friend who's getting married to enjoy their time, right? That's the main focus of it.
Yep.
Is there a need to kind of go overboard? Does that actually help you enjoy the situation? You've just alluded to, for you, not really. No. So,
Right.
yeah, if you kind of maintain that kind of way of looking at it, I always find that that helps. Is that something you've been able to consistently action?
Yes. I think it was when I was dialing in for the photo shoot, I did I limited going out to eat and stuff like that because I was very mindful. Because sometimes when you go out to eat, you don't know what they're putting in they could be cooking with a ton of grease, ton of oils and butter and whatnot. Let alone being vegetarian. It's really hard to get protein at some of these restaurants. You're like, "Oh, go get a salad." There's no protein in the salad.
Hmm.
Maybe they'll put a hard boiled egg in there, but you know.
Yeah.
So during that time, it was a bit harder. Now I've learned to find a bit of more of a balance. But as far as the drinking in aspect, it goes back to what you guys had a call on this a couple weeks ago. It's like, what's the reason you're going for that event? It's to, show support to your friend, right? For like even this bachelor party, it's like you're gonna have fun, but like you're gonna do it within your own limits, and it's okay to you have every right to be selfish in that decision, right? Just because you're not drinking doesn't mean you don't know how to have a good time, right? You could still interact, you're still there, you're present. And if certain people can't acknowledge that and appreciate that, then you might have to change who you're hanging around with.
Yeah. I think that can almost be an underrated aspect of a journey as well. You kind of, as you change your habits to align more with your values, you do kind of find out who that close-knit circle really, really is, don't you?
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, no, enjoy The Bachelor, as you know. I want you to have a good time for sure.
Absolutely.
We've almost been talking for an hour now, so I want to make sure that we do get to the question that also came through in the chat, and appreciate you've got a busy day ahead as well. So, Paran asked, what were your biggest challenges and how did you go about overcoming them?
The injuries were some of the bigger challenges, I'd say. How I overcoming that was, I think, talking to the coach and adjusting kind of the workout routine. Um, the other one was the socials and stuff like that. As I went longer into the program, it was a bit more easier to manage. Because you're always going to have things, right? It doesn't have to be an extravagant trip, but it could be, hey, I'm going to eat for a birthday party, or such and such is inviting us over, and you might want to eat your meal or take your meal with you there and eat with them. And be like, "Hey, listen, I'm on a bit of a diet," and just understanding like planning ahead of time. So don't be shy to take your tofu scramble with you if you need to.
So I think the biggest thing there is things don't necessarily kind of disappear, or times don't necessarily get easier or more and more perfect. You get better at dealing with them, right?
Correct.
They're always going to be there, and there's not necessarily a perfect time to get started with a fitness journey. You said that yourself. You had a broken
Right.
toe when you got started. If there was someone here, I know you've invited a few friends, things like that, who was thinking, is it maybe my kind of time to focus on myself a little bit more? What would the biggest thing you'd say to them be?
I'd say, I mean, you have the opportunity. God's only given you one body, right? Um, it's like so many people will, over take care of their car or overdo certain things, and your body is just another vehicle, right? And you only get one, right? A car, you can go and buy a new one. We all know that. So it's like, are you are you are you doing routine maintenance on it? Are you making sure it's running to the best of its ability? And that's one thing I've started doing for myself. It's like, take care of your body. You only have one, right? As you get older, whether you have kids, you want to be able to throw around the ball or play football or whatever it may be. But like, you don't want it to get too ahead where it's going to be even harder to get back to where you'd like to be in ideal condition.
No, I
So,
love that.
yeah.
That's a great way of looking at things. And just one more question before we do wrap up. It's a question that I like to ask on these client spotlight calls. What's one thing or the biggest thing that you think you're most proud of achieving through the journey? Whether that be kind of a mentality shift, something meaningful for you, the photo shoot, maybe. What's the thing that you're most proud of through the entire journey? And if you were to go back to day dot, what would you tell yourself?
If I was to go back to what?
Day dot, British way of saying day one.
Oh, day one. I think the biggest thing is it's honestly given the confidence to go out there, right? Your self-image is a reflection of you. Um, and how you treat your own body is, that's the first thing people see of you, right? Before you open your mouth, before they know what you're speaking on or what you're talking about, people are like, oh, here's a guy who takes care of himself. So that own mindset shift of like confidence, it's definitely given me confidence, definitely feel a lot more at ease with my body. Um, and then going back to day one, I wish I had done it sooner, to be honest.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I actually saw a quote. It was earlier today, which I think resonates well there. Which is, don't get angry at the mirror, change the reflection, because you've
I
got
love
full
that.
control over that. And that's kind of what you just alluded to there, right? But no, it's as always, it's an absolute pleasure to sit down and have a chat with you, man.
Absolutely.
And yeah, really, really do appreciate your time. Hopefully, everyone who wanted to go ahead and enter for the Whoop Band and the full year subscription, Neil, if you want to go ahead and enter, go for it. Picture of the
I do.
screen there. Tag KMAC, tag your coach, either me or D, and whilst you're at it, tag Neil as well. And we will add you onto that wheel for next week's spin. Anyone who was here from Neil's plethora of people who he knows across Chicago and the US. And if you were inspired and interested in joining up from Neil's journey, Max has just dropped the link for a consultation call in the chat as well. We're always welcoming new people to the community, so it would be absolutely amazing to have you. And yeah, once again, thank you very, very much for your time, man.
Cheers, Neil.
Love
Thank
it.
you, Neil.